Hello and welcome back to another episode. Now today I simply had to talk about this guy, Buzz Lightyear. Now Buzz Lightyear obviously is a character from Toy Story, a film that came out in 1995, and this is one of the films that I really remember seeing in the cinema. We went to a local, fairly small, slightly sort of nicotine ceilinged cinema, I seem to recall, to see Toy Story. And at the time, I would have been 11 years old, and it was quite simply one of the most enchanting, exciting, imaginative, and also just because of the computer generated texture, just artistically fascinating films I'd ever seen. And of course I wasn't alone. The whole world fell in love with Toy Story, both from a story driven standpoint, but also from a technical standpoint. Toy Story garnered awards and so on and so forth. Toy Story is a big deal. Of course, you know Toy Story. Of course you do. So in that sense, it's no big surprise that Toy Story made a big impression on me. But one thing that I suppose, beyond just the fact of toys coming to life and the adventures that they might be having, one thing which I found, I think, particularly inspiring as an 11-year-old was actually the way in which they really went into scenarios essentially based on being small. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I really like films like Inner Space and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, this kind of thing, is because you get a new perspective on the world around you. And that's one of the things that Toy Story did beautifully, was to really go through the logic of what's it like being, a toy, and what's it like going out there into the world and trying to, especially in the case of Toy Story, try and make your way home. What is a short or relatively short car drive for us to the local bowling alley, for example, or pizza place, might become an epic adventure. And of course in Toy Story 2 in 1999 they took that further. The epic adventure was amped up, the scale of the world was increased, and so too are the possibilities. For example, the Barbie aisle in that film, and the whole driving around the toy store, just amazing stuff. And so of course, as an 11-year-old, even though according to some people I was just getting a bit too old for it, I wanted a Buzz Lightyear toy, and I got one, but not straight away. Buzz Lightyear was the hottest toy around that Christmas, and without a doubt, there was just almost no chance of me getting my hands on one. I mean, the news was just crammed with well, no pun intended in that sense, just crammed with images of crammed shops, basically people lining up around the block. It was kind of like I'm pretty sure that Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he's after a Turbo Man doll, is a direct response to the Buzz Lightyear phenomenon.
I'm not a pervert. I just was looking for Turbo Man doll.
So it would be a while before I could get my hands on a Buzz. And Buzz was the character who really spoke to me from the Toy Story cast. He was the toy that I most wanted, as it were, and most wanted to play with. Woody is kind of cool, and I have to say, the older I've got, the more I appreciate Woody as a toy. Jessie, for example, obviously in Toy Story 2 is cool, the donkey, the prospector, so on and so forth. And of course the way in which they were interacting with toys that we all had, like for example little plastic toy soldiers, was fantastic. But Buzz was the man, and I have to say, this is not my original Buzz Lightyear. I bought this guy last week because I simply couldn't resist, and I'll tell you why I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist because this guy is finally the Buzz Lightyear from the movie. Now, first of all, before I go into that, let me just explain. I'm not a fickle person. I wouldn't just throw away my original Buzz. My original Buzz, as with so many of my favourite toys, was basically stolen from me. A family member, who shall remain nameless, took it from me when we went over for a visit one time. And then next time I saw it, all the stickers had been pulled off. He'd been drawn on. He'd been into Sid's yard basically, and this cousin of mine was pretty much Sid. And frankly, actually, these days he's very much as you might imagine Sid would turn out. So sadly, my Buzz was ruined within within 2 years, which is a real shame. So very quickly, Buzz came into my life and then he left again. And this is, like I said, this is a bit of a theme for me, in so much as I've always been very open with sharing my favourite things. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I have this YouTube channel, is I share my favourite things. But I've always wanted to sort of show people how cool something is, or share with them, play with them, so on and so forth. But obviously, because Buzz had gone relatively soon, and he was still a hot toy 2 years later, like I say, in 1999, 4 years after the film came out, he became the toy to have once more. Basically, my mum just couldn't. We just couldn't afford to go through that again. Couldn't afford to find one. Couldn't afford to buy one. So on and so forth. So eventually, as I say, last week, I was at a work meeting in Sunderland, and I came across this in the Disney store. And this is finally the Buzz from the films. This is the reason why I caved and I bought him. Actually, he was on sale. It was the same day as the Star Wars 40th anniversary. So I picked this guy up for, shall we say, less than £25, which is pretty good going. Now then, why is he like the Buzz in the film? Well, for a start, and this is why I loved Buzz in the film, incidentally, is because of all these different features. For a start, and this is something which the original Buzz didn't have, his wings actually pop out and light up. Can you see the LEDs going there? Isn't that incredibly cool? That never happened with the original toy. In fact, with the original toy, the way in which the wings folded was straight in, so the wing would just go straight into the toy like that. They hadn't figured out how to make the wings pop in like that, you see. And now if I just gently push the button, you'll see that the lights light up and the backpack lights up. Isn't that incredibly funky? So that's step number one. Step number two, this Buzz Lightyear does in fact have a karate chop action, unlike the original toy. So if I sort of pop it into its karate chop kind of mode, there's a button on the back, and you push it, and you can karate chop, just like the toy in the film. This Buzz, of course, has his laser, and with the laser button just there, extremely cool. He has all the catchphrases. They could have been sucked from his socket. And this is where, again, unlike the original toy, where the dome just sort of slid back and forth like it was loosely, with this one, like the film, there's a button on the side and it pops open, and now he can choke to death. So again, just like the film, but when Woody hits the side of his dome, it pops open. Again, how cool is that? Just like the film, and again, unlike the original toy, the computer in his arm is there for all to see. You actually do, in fact, have an openable, I suppose, gauntlet computer there. And just like in the film, what we have is at the bottom on his feet is Andy's name written. So technically I've stolen Andy's toy, but then again, Andy's given the toys away in Toy Story 3, hasn't he? And we'll have to see what happens in Toy Story 4. Buzz, back then, was my... well, favourite toy is the wrong way of putting it. He was my most intriguing toy, I suppose, because of course my favourite toys weren't from Disney. My favourite toys were, for example, my brown teddy bear, actually just up there on the shelf there. My favourite toys included, for example, Hot Rod from Transformers, so on and so forth. But Buzz, in that sort of 11 to 14 kind of age bracket, was the toy I was ready for. Let's just put it that way. He represented toys in some ways. He's got a very pleasing, rounded kind of design. He's got a sort of a classic spaceman kind of look. So I could appreciate that from like an aesthetic standpoint. I was old enough to sort of go, oh yeah, that's kind of retro. But also at the same time, he was, I don't know, he was reminding me not to grow up too quickly, if you know what I mean. Buzz was unashamedly, and is unashamedly, a toy. He is the toy, and that's one of the reasons why I love him. So of course, after my meeting, it was a boiling hot day. I wandered into Disney Store, fully expecting to come out with some sort of Rogue One Black Series figure or something like that, because actually they've been reduced down to like £5 a pop from like 25. So I mean, they were really a bargain. But when I saw him, my heart just melted, and I had to have him. I knew I had to have him. And
Approaching destination. Re-engaging gravity.
so in the same way that Buzz, back when I was an early teenager, reminded me not to grow up too quickly, he does the same for me now. By virtue of his design, by virtue of the fact that I was just at the right age, really, to really properly appreciate Toy Story when it came out, and just because of my connection to that original Buzz Lightyear toy. He's a very, very welcome addition to my office. So,
Buzz Lightyear to Star Command. Commence Star Command.
Yeah, I just couldn't be more happy. What about you guys? Do you remember the Buzz Lightyear craze? Do you remember, wanting, maybe you wanted Woody, maybe you weren't a Buzz person, as it were. But I don't know. I'd love to hear your stories if you have any. And maybe you were trying to get hold of a Buzz for a friend or something, or maybe for a family member. Let me know below. Yeah, I'm so pleased. And just as with my original Buzz, I just can't resist sharing him. I can't resist sharing my love of this toy. And as I say, the fact that finally, in many ways, this feels like the Buzz that we were promised when we first watched Toy Story. He's just brilliant. Anyway, guys, as ever, until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.